All right. Welcome, everybody. This is Laney Shaughnessy with Digital Woodcarver, and thank you for joining us tonight here live. I'm with my co-host, Burl Tishner, the owner of Digital Woodcarver. How you doing tonight, Burl?
We're doing good. Last second, decided to change cameras, trying to get our looks, our glasses and stuff aren't glaring here. Camera works well. I may adjust it here off and on to get that, but we're doing good. It's busy around Digital Woodcarver. We've got a great week going. We're working on our new place. Got orders coming in. I know you're doing training. You've been busy this week, but always love this time where we can have a chance to, meet our customers and show them some of the things that we got going on. We got an interesting subject, and we got some new cool stuff coming for some live shows coming up, and we'll talk about those later in our show here. But we got some exciting things going on at Digital Woodcarver.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I talked with you earlier today about how the building was going along, and you said things are just moving right along, so I'm excited about that. I'd like to thank all the individuals that came and joined us tonight. Burl, tonight, our topic we're going to talk about a little bit about the digital probe, one of our accessories that doesn't get a whole lot of attention, from us. We're so focused on our primary machines and our major accessories like our digital lasers and all that. Some of our accessories that have been around for a while, we don't really talk a whole lot about. So tonight we're going to talk about two of them that are really great accessories, our digital probe, and we're going to touch up on our diamond engraving bit and kind of diamond engraving, how to use a diamond tip engraving bit and what ours looks like, our spring-loaded bit and everything, and one of the benefits of those spring-loaded. So I hope everybody enjoys that tonight.
And Laney, one of the things I think our probe doesn't get the recognition is it's one of those devices that is like so super cool what it can do, but it does have some complexity to it. It's not for the beginner or somebody that's just starting to do it. It's not one of those that's easy. You just push a button and whap, it pulls out 3D image, and push another button, you reproduce it. But there is some very cool things, and I know you've got some videos here tonight. That also brings up a point. It takes a while to do, so we can't really do a live event of probing. We would probably be kicked off for not having enough time. So when it comes
absolutely to that. And let's talk about or kind of explain. Let me grab a screenshot here. Bear with me. I just went into full screen mode there. Let me switch over kind of just to a dual screen so we can show people. So for a lot of you that might be new or not sure exactly what a digital probe is, this is an electronic sensor that has a stem with a radius kind of tip, whatever the diameter of that tip is. It varies, from probe to probe. But there are two really main functions that the probe is used for. One is, as you can see on this image that we have here, that I've got this board. You see how I've got it warped and twisted? Nice. I've got it purposely twisted to show how we can achieve a nice symmetrical or even carving, even on a warp board, using what's called the warp function. But a digital probe has a second purpose too, and that's for kind of reverse engineering three-dimensional items. Let's say that we had an ornate kind of dresser front or something on our old antique dresser, and we needed to replace one of the front drawers. We could take that part and put it on the table, and we could actually probe it out and duplicate that part. And that's the process that takes a long time. But it's if you can handle the time, right, the run time of it, you can achieve some great results from that, depending on the resolution, the settings, how close that probe is touching off on its points and everything. I'll never forget, not too long ago, I did a 3D probing on a small item. It was about 3 inches by 4 inches. It took about 12 hours to probe that thing. But it was phenomenal when it was done.
Yeah, and I've done that too. You know, the 6 hour, 4x6 area, and part of that is your resolution in order to capture the true sense of what it is. It takes a lot of different points that it has to collect. Laney, another thing I would like to point out in this, you do not have to have VCarve Pro or Aspire to actually collect that information. It comes through our TNG or our Planet CNC software, controller software, that we collect that information. But if you're doing the 3D images, it is highly recommended that Aspire be with this, because if you need to clean up or modify that 3D image, Aspire is our only software will allow you to go in and smooth out if there's some odd things and stuff that's in there. So I wanted to kind of do that disclaimer for the 3D images. It doesn't have to, but if you're going to do a lot of it, that Aspire would probably be what I'd recommend. Now, some of the warping, that's a totally different subject, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But 3D relief is that.
Exactly, because when that probe touches, they retract how far it retracts before it moves to the next touch point. Sometimes when it senses, you can get little anomalies in that three-dimensional model. And having a program like Aspire that lets you really manipulate and work with models allows you to go in and smooth those areas out and kind of clean them up, where Vectric VCarve Desktop and Vectric VCarve Pro do not. As Burl was talking about the software, all the way back from CNC USB controller to the Planet CNC TNG. Back in CNC USB controller, the 3D part was called 3D digitizing. Basically, that was the operation within the program. The warp has always been the warp, and the warp function, ladies and gentlemen, is basically if you had a cupped, bowed, twisted, curved board, or a board that was actually intentionally warped. Let's think of like a skateboard body, right? And you wanted to carve on your kid's skateboard that has that nice curve. The warp function allows that probe, which you'll see here in a minute when we kind of run the video as we're talking, it allows that probe to touch off the points, and it creates these offset points of the Z-axis. And as you bring in your tool path and you engage or enable that warp function, it alters the design to those offsets. It alters the Z. That way your carving is absolutely, ideal. And if, as an example, Burl, if I could pull up a picture, this image here, this is carving on that warped board without a digital probe. You'll tell them you'll call them back later. But I forgot to turn off my phone. No problem. But as you can see here, not optimal results, right? As that board warps, that bit is getting, deeper and deeper, and therefore it's not cutting a consistent cut. Well, the warp function allows us to get a nice consistent cut. This is actually a kind of a sample photo of the carving after the probing is done. So you can see the dramatic results between carving on a warped piece of wood without the probe, and then, using kind of that warp function. So that's a cool, kind of accessory. And I just wanted to share that kind of very dramatic example there. But the results are less optimal. Bro, let's, as we're talking, let's go ahead and can we run this video and we'll discuss what's happening as we go through. You ready for that?
Go ahead and flip it. And there's one of the things I wanted to point out. I was trying to find an object here to go ahead and run that as it's collecting.
Yeah. And so what you see here is this is the Digital Woodcarver 2440 with the digital probe attached to it. As you can see, I've got a piece of MDF, and I purposely warped this board. And at the very end, you can see some shims at the very end. It's actually warped and twisted combined. So if we can just kind of run through this as we are moving along. Now, what's going to first happen is this is the Planet CNC TNG software. And the first thing that we need to do is we need to capture and measure these points. It's called surface measure in the new TNG. Back in CNC USB controller, it was just, probe and then 3D digitize, but now it's called surface measure. So here I am setting up the parameters and we're going to pause it right after I get the last parameter in to talk about that for a second. Let's get that 0.125. All right, let's pause that there. This is basically, we have to tell the probe how big the area is that it's going to be, digitizing. And in my case, it was a 15-inch long piece that was 1.5 inches wide. And my step over is how far that probe steps from one touch point to the next. And so I decided to go a 0.5 of an inch, half an inch for each step. Now you could have it spread out apart further. You could have it tighter together for resolution. If this was a 3D digitizing of a model, this would be a much tighter step over, a few thousandths of an inch or so. Now the return distance is what I was talking about, Burl. After it touches off,
right,
that return distance, how far it retracts before it moves to the next touch point. So once that is set up and you click OK in the software, you'll see me here minimize the screen and then hit the start button or the OK button in the software. The unit will start probing. Now, the first couple of probes is going to be slow and then it gets speed up. You'll see this guy's moving about 400 times the speed here in a minute. That's not the actual probing speed. Now, I want you to notice something, Burl, how it does a double touch. In the earlier software, it used to come down and just touch once and then move to the next point. Mm-hmm. Now there is a 2-point touch off. You have a faster speed and a slower speed where it'll come down and touch, and then it'll come down and touch again at a slower speed, and it's going to register a very accurate touch point. And now you'll see as it goes along, it's going to be moving a little bit faster here. Once it gets down to that 15 inches, it's going to step over that half an inch and come back. And it's going to repeat that step, that back and forth for that whole 1.5 inch wide area. You'll hear a little bit of music in the background. That's actually the video. It's just a slight undertone of music, so it's not so quiet. But
yeah, one of the things, Laney, when you talked about, and I just wanted to highlight, you talked about, see if I can get it in my camera here. I've got an object. This is just a charger, car charger, and your advantage. You obviously don't want it to retract a lot because that requires time. But if you have something that's tall like this and you don't take it up high enough, the probe tip can hit on the side. So there is times that you have to determine that so that, if you got a pretty flat board like what you're warping there, you don't want it to raise very much because it adds time to it. But if you was doing something very tall like this, you would have to make that probe come up much higher before it goes down and collects a point.
Exactly. Otherwise, the probe ball would make contact with the side.
And that probe,
it gets triggered in the front, back, left, right, and
any
up
direction.
And down. So all those directions. So absolutely. And if we'll let's swing back over here. And so on this, like Burl was saying, this flat board here, it doesn't have to rise up that high, but absolutely you would want to make sure it clears. Right. Now, as it starts to approach the last few steps, it will then return back to 0. So it comes down and returns back to 0. Now, from here, within the software, and this is all done in TNG, they're going to come in and save those points to a file. And it's going to be a simple text file. And then in this case, it's called surface measure. So I have in my probe folder, I have a surface measure folder that gets overwritten every time I do a probe job. So it's the same file. Now, as we bring this in, you're going to see the digital wood carver logo here getting carved. And this is overall about 15 inches in length, and about the letters are the words are about 1.5 inches tall. But I'm going to turn it to the side so you can see that flat layout. This is the G code right from the Vectric software as we bring it in. There's no transformation or warping or anything at this point. Once we have the design brought in, then we're going to end up going up to the program function within the software, and we're going to actually activate or enable is the term. We're going to enable that warp function. And so we have to bring that file in from the file. So we'll load that in and grab that surface measure and click open. And it will create that transition. And you might have saw it happen very quickly in the background, but the minute those points were brought in, that part transition, you can kind of see it's ramping up now in things. And I've got the mouse kind of showing that. And if I tilt it, you'll actually see, and we'll pause it. Let's back it up just a slight second here. As that turns, if we pause it right about here, what you'll notice, and it might be hard to see in the computer screen, but there's actually a shading color of difference, how it's a little darker on the digital. And then as we get to the TAL, the wood, the carver, those letters or that preview gets lighter because it's just almost like a 3D model. You know, the deeper areas are the darker areas within that grayscale, and the lighter areas are the higher. And also we can physically see that transformation within the software. And once that is done, I've already at this time, I've changed over to the V-bit to do the V-carve, and I've zeroed out the machine. So the bit is sitting right now at XYZ 0, and we're off in carving. So what will happen now with that warp function engaged, guys and girls, is it's going to take all the Z codes in your current toolpath, and it's going to offset them with those points that the probe touched off. So it's going to alter those so that basically this carving is going to follow that curve and that transition perfectly to create just the ideal carving all the way across. And that's a big benefit. I have people that use the digital probe, Burl, when they're carving on, let's say, wine barrel staves. You know, they have a natural curve to them and things like that. So if you have let's say you had an old piece of barnwood, ladies and gentlemen, that made, you know, you might not want to run it through a surface planer because it's got that patina, that antiqueness to it. Right. But it does have a little bit of a twister bow, but you want to carve something very cool in it. This is where a digital probe would shine in that warp function. And everything.
Nice. Yep. That's some cool stuff there. I know one of our competitors used to advertise, and we didn't talk about this feature much, but it's been in our software for quite a while that we had this capacity to run off of uneven boards, or if it's not, if your table, even if you could do an offset of a table that got a little bit not quite level. You could do that too. One of the things I know you and I talked about, if you get too drastic, you do have to watch, because your bit never changes, tangent to the surface. So if you go too far around, your bit is not going to be, follow the contour of like a ball bat or, something that's very, drastic when it comes to that.
Yeah, exactly. What Burl is referring to, he and I had a conversation about this. Some people will use the digital probe for, say, kind of probing out like a gun stock if they're doing kind of a decorative carving for someone. And I'm just going to, this disclaimer out, if you're ever doing, those custom kind of, very important items like gun stocks and things, understand now that you're taking on that liability of carving someone's antique gun that their grandfather gave them, or whatever the story is behind it. So be mindful of that, because like what Burl says is that carve, that arch, even though that gun stock is arched, and even though we've touched the probe points and everything, that bit is still vertical. So as we get further over that arch, that hill, the bit's not turning with the arch, right? So it's still coming down. So you're going to see some slight variances in there, and you need to make sure the project that you're doing that is not going to, what's the word, distract or distort distorted any, and everything. And Burl, as we move just a little bit forward here, what I wanted to show as I come around on this carving, look at that consistent, even carving on that warp board. It turned out well, but as I turn the camera around closer, I want you to see that's the showing the pivot of how much warp I had in that board when I had it clamped down to the table and everything. But as we get over here, let's, it's upside down, but let it get over the word carver. And I just want to pause right about here. Now the upside down carver here, this was the carving of the Digital Wood Carver logo on a flat board. Nice. And this is the result on the flat board. So coming opposite of it, the lower one that's facing upright, like we're reading it normal here, this is the one carving on the warp. And, there's a little shadow here. Sorry about the shadow, but I mean, very consistent in the carving and everything. And that's where the probe, kind of shines and stuff. And I just wanted to kind of highlight that little bitty area and stuff. Nice. It came out great, and I'm just kind of now you're going to see a couple of panning shots of the carving and and then our nice little closing shot of the Digital Wood Carver logo. Kind of throw that in there, even though that's what we were carving anyway. And let's bring that router forward and.
That's good marketing, Laney. That's good marketing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's bring that router forward in that nice dramatic finish, come to a stop and then close the video out. It took me a couple of takes, but I got that one. I just wanted to kind of get that and everything. So let's get back to you and I. And so, the warp function has a lot of purposes. Like I said, one off the top of my head was like when someone's carving that barn wood, or something, they got a piece of pallet wood or something that, you don't want to run through a planer. You don't want to surface plane it. You want to keep that patina, but it's got a little bit of deformity to it. Well, this is where a probe will shine and all.
Yeah. Now, rustic work is very popular now. I see a lot of people doing, things, whatever it may be in rustic wood.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, our probe, ladies and gentlemen, can attach and work with our Digital Wood Carver 1824 mini carver, our DWC 2440, as well as our 4848 and our 5100. So it will attach to all of them. The power cords and the connections and things from the probe to the control box, it varies from, unit to unit and stuff.
Yeah, we use a 1/8 inch audio jack, so you can buy extensions and put in between there if you need it for like the 5100 or something like that. Another thing I wanted to point out, Laney, I don't know where you're at on the probe as far as if we want to move on or some of the other. If you take an object, one of the things that you have to realize when you're doing this has just happened to be on my desk charger here, but one of the things that you have to realize when you're doing the 3D reliefs or 3D objects, you are coming from the top. You cannot do any under probing like this. Right. So where this object goes around, wherever this edge is all that you can do. You can't, when you do an object, you're doing anything that's coming straight down. I wanted to point that out because, people think, well, I can do a 3D object. Well, yes, you can. And that is 3D, but it won't do the underneath side. Right. People ask about 4-axis, and is that where you're going?
Yeah, exactly. That's where, because you can't do an undercut, on the table. The 2440 fourth axis unit with that rotary, we have a probe setting in our fourth axis for that, so that they can come and probe off to the side as that part is turning. I just did one project with a gentleman a couple weeks ago with that, and it came out great. Now, that particular file, when you do the 3D model, ladies and gentlemen, you will export those points, that point cloud that was created, out of the TNG software as an STL file. And that STL file, once again, is a 3D model file format where Burl was talking earlier. It would be ideal to bring it into Aspire to be able to manipulate it and things like that. The one thing about the side probing, Burl, just to throw that disclaimer out there, is it does not come out of the TNG software as a wrap. It comes kind of kind of flat.
It's a flat. Yeah.
So right. So we have to wrap that within, and we can wrap in Desktop Pro and Aspire, but Aspire gives us the ability to clean up any of those little anomalies and stuff. So digital probing is cool, guys. Just so you know, our digital probe is on our website. If you're interested and you have a unit, one of our units and things, I can't really claim that the digital probe would work with other units. I mean, I know it would, but I'm not. We're just it fits our units, right? We know what it does for us in our TNG software.
You got to be able to take it into an input. It's a switch, is what it is. It's a sophisticated switch designed to be able to be, touched or moved in any location or any direction.
Yeah, and our digital probe it's $150 retail on the digitalwoodcarver.com website for any of you that are interested in that. And again, I use it a lot for the warping. I don't do very many 3D carvings, bro. That's kind of it's one of those things that's nice to have when you need to do it, but it is it's one of those things that you don't do very often. But warping, you run across warped, twisted, bowed, cupped boards all the time, and it's a great function. And it was very quick. Just so you know, that video that we watched that was 8 minutes, the actual probing procedure only on that 15 by 1/2 area only took 4 minutes. So on those touch points, and that could increase or decrease depending on how far apart those touch points are.
Yeah, how far were you spacing? 1/2 inch? 1/4 inch?
Yeah, I wanted to, because I had that board cupped and twisted. So I wanted to, make sure every 1/2 inch, that I was reading those points and everything and all. But if any of you have any questions, feel free to throw them up in the chat. We'd be happy to answer them. Burl, let's talk a little bit about, I want to switch the wheels a little bit. And let's talk a little bit about our diamond engraving bit for a moment. And again, guys, we're going to switch topics, but if y'all have questions, be sure to ask them. We'll come back and answer them. But the diamond engraving bit. So there's a lot of different types of diamond bits out there, right, bro? And what we have is a spring-loaded holder. And Burl's a popular man tonight. People are just calling him.
I was going to say, let me turn that thing off.
That's okay. No problem. They're calling to order probes, bro. That's what it is.
Yeah. You have to wait till after the show. Yeah.
Exactly. So we have a diamond tip loader. Now, the one that Burl's holding in his hand has a 1/2 inch shank for the router, but we also have one that has a 1/4 inch diameter shank for the our mini carvers that don't go up to 1/2 inch. But that spring loaded, Burl, that creates a pressure on that diamond tip bit so that when it's engraving, it gives it that pressure to dig in a little bit. And what a lot of people don't know is the diamond tip bit can be used as a drag tool, right? Dragging it around with the spindle or router not running. But if we did have to do a little bit of digging and a little bit of engraving, let's say we were kind of doing marble, a little bit or something like that, a little hard stone, then we would actually turn that router on so it would spin and go. I've actually got a video of of an etch, but go ahead and show what you've got there.
Right. So, and this is just like a nameplate for a plaque.
Come on in front of the camera a little bit there you go, right there.
Right. This is a 2x4, but this would be what you would see at the lower part of a plaque that you've made. And what you could do is you can pre-make the plaque and then literally stick this, attach it to the bottom, and put name and all that. One of the things that I had forgotten that a lot of the original machines, and I don't know when I stopped, but all the serial number tags was made with a diamond engraving bit. We used this is a 2x4. But we used a 1x3. This is simply aluminum with a black coating on it. I think it's anodized. But what you do is, and I don't know, I scratched a little bit on the back. You can see where I took the diamond and actually scratched on it. And what it does is it removes that black part and allows in this case, aluminum, which would be silver, to shine through. And you can buy these nameplates I bought it from Master Car. That's an industrial supply house, and they sell to anybody, but you can buy them other places.
Absolutely. And now you can also DIY too. I found myself on a couple of occasions, Burl, where I had some aluminum sheet that I've actually painted. I painted it with a black, and I cut out my little plates and everything to make plaque plates. And it worked just as well, right? So there's a DIY option to that too. Now, as I'm going to just kind of pop open this screen here. So what you can see on the screen is that same kind of plate that Burl was showing on the screen. Burl's got that diamond tip bit in there. And before we run this video, let me tell you a little bit about our diamond tip bit. So the tip, the replaceable tip, the diamond bit itself, it runs around $20, and that is a 90-degree 0.02 tip. It's an 1/8 inch ball, Burl, but the very tip where it actually engraves is 0.02.
Well, I know it comes pretty close to a point. It is a very fine. I could find that information out here for you in just a minute. It is a 90-degree. There is others. What happens and why you would have a different degree, it works very much like the router bits. But in this case, your sharper points will allow you to dig deeper into a surface if it's a little more blunt. So if your surface is a little harder, they do make different angles. And this is a common bit. We provide the 90. That's kind of an all-purpose round, for different cuttings. But there is others out there, and this is 1/8 inch diameter, so you can put different ones on there. But that angle is for different, materials. If it's soft, aluminum, fairly soft, your brasses and stuff like that. Some of your other materials may be a little bit harder.
Exactly. And the benefits, ladies and gentlemen, in the Vectric software, we work with Vectric. There's, different toolpaths that you can use. And one of the toolpaths that they have is the quick engraving toolpath, where you can do an outline or a fill type of engraving, diamond engraving, or engraving with a diamond bit. And in that toolpath, they have what's called the depth or pressure. And it's basically how much pressure to put on that spring and things. Now, Burl, I always, and tell me your thoughts on this. I always have the customers set that pressure and depth in the software as 0, because I have them set the pressure at the actual table. I have them bring that spring down to where it just retracts a small amount. On the side of the bit, there's a little window with a pin, and I have them kind of come up about a quarter of that window, and that is the pressure. They zero out the machine there, and then that way it runs at that pressure. Now, I that's how I've kind of instructed, rather than setting the pressure and depth in the software, which we could do. I like setting it at the table. What are your thoughts?
I don't know that it makes a lot of difference. The only thing is you'll need to make sure your bit retraction, clearance in between. It would be your, and honestly, it doesn't make a lot of difference when it comes to that.
Right.
You can do it either way. I don't know that there's a difference. One of the things that you can do is if you do now realize you cannot use the touch-off plate with a diamond tip.
Right.
Diamond doesn't conduct electricity. But what you can do, one of the things with what you're saying is you can put that number. And the nice thing about doing it the way you're saying it is you'll set that 0, and then you simply put in what number you want it, and you can actually go back and change it. So all your softwares are, when you make these designs, they're the same. But maybe there's a soft, material and you want to apply a little more pressure or a little less.
Right.
Just change the one number, and no matter what program you use, you would have that. So if you're applying 20 thousandths down, you would just simply do what you say, touch off 0, and then you could change your number to 0.01 in your Z height, kind of like what we do with a touch plate. Or, if you wanted to be 30 thousandths or something like that, that you could add that different pressures on how much.
Yeah, exactly. And as you saw here, Burl's finger went up to that bit and kind of just showed the spring loadedness, and he's already set the 0. And so he's got it set as it's engraving here to where it just is breaking the surface of that coating, that whether it be that anodized coating or, you know, paint coating and everything, getting down to that underlying metal, right? To, to show through and everything. Right. And this is what Burl's demonstrating here at this first part is an outline where it's actually doing the outline of the design. Right. But you can also do what's called a fill, where it actually comes in and kind of engraves within the lines and things.
Right, kind of like what we do with the laser where we fill it in. Yep. So you can do the same thing.
Exactly. Here. Yep. And this is great for you guys and girls that are, you know, plaque makers or, you know, things like that, awards for different like little high schools or colleges or whatever, to kind of be able to custom engrave, you know, the winners' names and things in them, or even heck, you know, you could even put your logo on it and then attach it to the back of your projects, right? You know, there's all kinds of reasons for doing diamond engraving. Now, I will tell you this, there are a lot of different diamond bits out there and things, and you got to be mindful of what you're getting. You know, I ran across on Amana a V-bit, a diamond 90-degree V-bit, and I couldn't quite think of what that would be used for or what have you, but that bit runs up, it's about $175 for that bit. So, our bits, our holders and everything, that the bit and holder together, $75. And then the replacement tips are only $20 for each tip. And I would say, Burl, they last a decent amount of time, but you can wear them out pretty. Yeah.
And that's what I was going to point out, you know, not to interrupt you here, but they are diamond, and diamond's one of the hardest substance, but it still can wear. We can do glass and mirrors with it. The thing about it is continuously doing glass, you will wear that out, and it will wear out in a replacement. Now, I will back up your diamond bits, and that did give a good finish. Sometimes if you rub your finger over it, you'll see a little flakes there, type of like your paint. You rub that over one time, and it makes it smooth. But your diamond bits and stuff are generally designed for very abrasive type of materials that will just eat through a regular carbide or, a regular tool steel type of cutters. That's what your diamonds bits are. But they're very, very expensive. And it's one of those things you really, if you're going that way, they work well for what they're used for. Sometimes that's what only thing that you can use, but you don't want to just buy a diamond tip because, you know, it's really hard and cut wood and stuff like that.
Right. No, right. Exactly. And, you know, like you said, those abrasives, like, you know, etching glass, or even, you know, I had someone that uses them to etch ceramic tiles, do decorative little etchings on ceramic tiles, but ceramic is tough. That is a tough material. And that's one of those materials that's really going to wear down a diamond tip quickly. So if that's the you know, like with what Burl did here, the metal etching, you know, clearing away that coating, that's not a whole lot of wear and tear on the diamond bit, and you can get quite a few nameplates done with a single tip bit. But if you're getting into glass or tile or things like that, you need to have some backup tips on hand, because it is gonna, you know, it's not like a carbide bit carving in wood, you know, that's going to last you a few months or whatever. It'll wear out, you know. You might get a couple of runs out of it. It all depends on what you're doing and you know, the project at hand. So you got to, as long as you know that, ladies and gentlemen, and you're educated ahead of time that this, you know, hey, I better have some backups, then you're good, right? It's a different
one of the best,
if you will.
Yeah, one of the best things that I done was I had a marble 12 by 12 black marble polished. It was a floor tile, and I carved with this. I took it around to shows. Unfortunately, that marble tile, it was of an eagle. It looked very good. The black polished, it give out that gray contrast. The problem with, you know, a piece of tile is very fragile, and about 6 months or a year, it got broke into 3 or 4 pieces that I couldn't take it out anymore. And I need to run that some more. But marble is one of the things that I found in stone. I don't like granite, just from the standpoint, the ones that I've got, if you had a good solid collar, it might work okay. The granite that I got was the mixture color. It was the gray and really you just couldn't see the contrast.
and it loved the bits because granite is hard. So
it is very hard, and it's very rare that you see granite that doesn't have some kind of pattern or design, and you can find the marble in those solid colors and stuff pretty easily and stuff and everything, and then also ceramic tiles, little tile decorative tiles and things like that. But I could see very well how a granite piece with the detail wouldn't show up and all, and I could see absolutely how it would go through the bits.
So one other thing that, if you want my mistakes or what doesn't work well, is slate. I tried a piece of slate, and what it did is it was almost too soft that the bit literally just went down. And what it did, it was still a stone that was, it was hard, it would grind away. It literally, my diamond tip went down and it wore away the steel around it. So it almost my diamond fell out from the standpoint because the stone was like a sandpaper against the steel, or a grinding wheel against the what was holding the diamond, but it was too soft that it actually penetrated down inside the stone on that. So slate didn't work well with me, and granite, but marble, it worked fabulous.
Yeah, now to change up just a minute. Now, slate with a painted front does really nice on a laser engraving, having that contrast. I used to get black slate plates that had a white coating on them. And when you laser engraved it, that black came through that white, and it was really nice for cool plaques. But I could see how it wouldn't do well with diamond, but outstanding. Well, Burl, believe it or not, everybody's, hanging out and, listening to us and kind of just talking about the topics and stuff. But there's not a whole lot of questions tonight.
We must be doing well.
Well, it's Thursday night. It's getting to the end of the week. They survived hump day and everybody's tired and all. But I want to thank everybody that stopped by. I see Edward and Crystal and Tim and many others. Kevin, great to see you, and Mike and Troy. I can't name everybody, but I see a lot of you there. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you have any questions on our diamond tip bits or our digital probe, you can absolutely reach out via email, sales@digitalwoodcarver.com, or you can call us at 833-DWC-CNC1, and that's 392-2621, extension 1. We'd be happy. And you can find those items on the accessories of our website. And also under router bits for the diamond tip bit. But two great accessories that they don't get a whole lot of attention because they're kind of specific use items and things like that. But we wanted to showcase them because they've been, we've had probes since, way back, and diamond tip bits and all. And Burl, do you still make your diamond tip bit and holder in the shop? Didn't you used to turn the
we still make
holder?
The holder, we manufacture that part. Now the diamond tip itself,
no, of course not.
Right. But no, we do. Our turning centers do that. We actually make our probes in-house too. We used to purchase those outside, both of those units. Actually, when you was talking about it, I believe those are our two oldest accessories. I may be wrong on that, but I believe they are the two oldest accessories on that. But sometimes those, oldies are goodies. So, I'm glad we had a time to show those. And then we got a couple things we want to go over.
Yeah, if you announce a couple of things.
Yep, announce a couple things, and then probably wrap it up. Maybe even have an early one tonight. This might be our shortest.
Yeah. This could be our shortest one.
Maybe not. We're talking too soon.
Yep. No, but first announcement, just real quick, ladies and gentlemen, July 1st, and we're going to be putting out, we'll send out mailers to everybody and all that are on our mailing list and stuff. But July 1st, Burl and I are going to be interviewing 3 of our customers. And we're going to be talking about digital wood carver or CNCs in business. For those of you that are looking at, selling your items and your products and kind of starting that home-based business to maybe supplement some income with everything going on with COVID and all that stuff, or you're looking to add a CNC to your current business, be sure to join us 7 o'clock Eastern time on July 1st, where Burl and I will be interviewing 3 of our customers, talking about their businesses and how they're using the digital wood carvers in their everyday operations, and getting some of their feedback and their trials and tribulations, or advice and things like that. So it's going to be a great live event. Be sure to join us for that. And second of all, if you are a digital wood carver customer and you're watching us tonight, thanks for tuning in. At the end of this broadcast, if you'll take and you can, don't do it now, but you can text the word diamond to, is diamond too long of a word for them to text, bro? Or is that good? Or diamond's good. They can. They
can do a diamond. If they can't do diamond, they don't get it. So, and if you misspell it, you can't. Well, no, we're just
but
put something on there.
Yeah, if you text the word diamond to 833-392-2621. That's 833-DWC-CNC1, 392-2621. At the end of this video, don't start texting until this video ends, until this broadcast ends. But we're going to take the 15th texter, and we're going to give them a free diamond tip bit and holder and things. So a little giveaway on that $75 value. For the 15th texter. So don't try to text too early. You might not be 15, right? We're going to take the 15th texter, not caller. Don't call me, please. Text.
Text. So it's at the bottom of our screen there. So yeah, if you didn't get that number.
Love when you guys call us and stuff, but this is a texting contest. So we want to play by the rules. So the 15th texter. Burl, do you have any announcements or anything that I missed on those two?
No, I'm excited about our interviews with customers. Anytime we do our user meetings, we are looking at maybe doing one this fall. Kind of a spoiler alert there. I'll try to get some pictures of our new building. It's looking awesome. This Saturday, we're going to pour a big concrete, in the main part of it, capping it. And I'll start getting some pictures for our live event, July 1st, that can show some of the things we're doing, looking at possibly some user meetings. But I love it when we interact with customers. Each time we do it, they bring something that you and I, some reason we think we've seen everything until we talk to our customers and we realize they've got some unique things. So I'm excited about that. Other than that, we're busy around here. Sales are going well. So appreciate if some of your new customers are listening to us. Welcome aboard. Join our Facebook. Do that. If you haven't done your training with Laney, I know he's been busy the last couple of days.
Do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are quick announcements. That's all I've got. Have a good evening, and we'll see you July 1st.
Yeah, and we do have one last question before I say my final goodbyes. It's not a question; it's more of a statement. John Burton, and I'll throw that up on the screen. John Burton is kind of giving a shout out, saying that you can also use to engrave on Yeti cups on the 4th axis. So evidently, he's had some success with the Diamond Bit on engraving on the 4th axis. So thanks, John, for that. I appreciate you. As Burl said, ladies and gentlemen, as the year goes on, things are starting to relax. Travel restrictions and things are starting to kind of relax and get back to normal. We do, each year, the last couple of years, we've had user group meetings where everybody comes together and does some hands-on training. So keep an eye out as the next couple of weeks progress. If we can set something up, we will definitely throw that out on Facebook and our website and stuff, and announce a user group meeting, time and location. And if you are in the area or around the area, definitely come out and travel out. So keep that in mind. Check us out July 1st at 7 p.m. Eastern time for our live event with our customers talking about business and CNC. And stay safe. Keep your hands clean and washed, because we want to see you on the 1st and no bad incidents or anything. But digital probing and engraving, right? So probes for 3D digitizing and for warping for those warp boards, 2 great features. Find them on our website at digitalwoodcarver.com. And until next time, we'll see you soon. As soon as I close this out, the 15th texter to text Diamond wins that Diamond Bit that Burl is holding in his hand. You ladies and gentlemen, have a great night. Thanks for joining us. And Burl, thank you. Goodbye.
Same with you.